My husband, 26M, is getting resentful of me, 26F, and my job. I work in direct patient care. Not COVID patients, but it's still a major hospital. My husband has worked from home ever since March. We've been married 1 year. We live in a suburb away from all friends and family. My parents are within driving distance. His family really isn't. To say my husband has been sad about the pandemic has been an understatement. Right from the beginning we cancelled our honeymoon and prepared to hunker down for who knows how long. With my job it's a miracle I haven't gotten COVID yet. Many of my patients don't wear their masks right or at all. We've been taking a lot of precautions. Trips to the grocery store every other week. No restaurant dining, just takeout or delivery. The only fun place we go is to the park once a week at the crack of dawn, so we avoid others. Otherwise we just sit inside. For the past couple of months we have seen my parents for a couple hours every month. We cannot see his family at all. Lately my husband has been complaining that my job has made things especially worse. He's jealous of co-workers able to plan small gatherings and see family for the holidays. He will be spending Thanksgiving without his family for the first time in his life, and it's really getting him down. I understand his frustration, but him getting mad at my job solves nothing. I can't just quit working. I've been trying to make the best of things by doing hobby projects. He has too, but he mostly just plays video games. We usually take a week off around the Christmas season and a few days for Thanksgiving, and now I'm wondering if it's even worth taking any time off at all, especially with how grumpy he's been lately. I'm a little worried he may decide to quarantine away from me and then spend holidays with his family, although he said he wouldn't do that. I don't know. What can we do? Too long didn't read. Husband is frustrated that my hospital job prevents us from having any kind of social life. Not that we really had one before COVID. I'm confused. He is able to work remotely. As another person commented, if he gets tested before and after his trip, the risk is very low. On his return, he quarantines himself in your house for 2 weeks, which should be easy since he works from home. You wouldn't be able to tag along with him unfortunately due to your job. Also, your risk of catching COVID from you working your hospital job every day is insanely high compared to his chance of risk for a short trip to see his family while being tested before/after and following necessary precautions. The important thing to note here is this conversation isn't only COVID and breaking the safety rules to see family. His mental health is a serious factor here, and there is risk there that should be considered. Maybe let him go alone if his mental health is taking such a bad hit. If he works from home and can't go anywhere or meet anyone besides you, he'll end up resenting you sooner than later. At least you get to meet people at work, but he must be really deprived of human interaction at this point. Hey, so I have a somewhat similar situation, except without the working in a hospital. Also had to cancel our honeymoon and it stinks. Some options: 1. Take a vacation together to a remote Airbnb in a pretty place. Bring groceries with you. You are now quarantining on vacation. Enjoy and recommend going somewhere without internet to really get away. 2. If you want to see family but don't have time to quarantine, get a test done. Depending on where you are and your healthcare plan, this could be expensive or free. Summer I suggested the cabin option and he just felt uncomfortable. I could ask again, but with cases on the rise I think he'll feel the same way. You should take the time off or not change holiday plans yet. If you do it preemptively out of spite, it would make matters worse. It sounds like he is depressed and lonely. Do you have any shared hobbies you can do more often together? I would also work on just breaking up routines if you can and try and be a bit more spontaneous. Focus on ways to help strengthen your connection to each other. I doubt he is serious about you quitting your job, and short of that there isn't anything you can do differently there. Can he go home and celebrate with his family and you stay and celebrate with yours? I can't stay with my family. The most I could do is see them for a little while with masks on, and then go home. He can go if he's willing to quarantine away from me before and after. Leaving dad instructions. I 32F have to travel for a funeral, leaving husband 34M with our older kids 8M and 4F. for the first time for several days. We've known about this trip for a while now, it's not sudden. Also, he has been at home since February, helping take care of kids and doing college online. He has reminded me today and yesterday to make a list of things he needs to do every day. He has not made an effort to ask me, or help me, or anything to actively learn these things. He just wants me to make a list so I don't have to text him every day to remind him. If it were reversed, and he had to leave for a while, I would not need a list or directions. Is it unfair of me to expect the same from him? Too long didn't read, I'm leaving for 5 days, stay at home. Dad wants instructions. I think he should know how to take care of the household. Your kids are 8 and 4, not babies or toddlers. He should be fine. I was going to comment something about how he wants to do a good job. Make sure you don't come home to chaos, but having been you and having had to make that list, nah dude, figure it out. Just say you'll be fine. It's your kids. You should know what to do. Reply to his frantic texts when you feel like it. Reminder, a father isn't a babysitter to his own children, any more than a mother is. The kids are at the ages to either keep him on his list, or make him wish he'd paid attention to real life. Do not make him a list. Best way to learn is by doing. And if he texts for instructions, grey wall. Answer him later, much later, or simply ask if anyone is bleeding or if bones are protruding, or if the place is on fire. I'm petty, so I would leave him an impossible list. Any unfinished projects? Put it on the list. Meal prep soup to freeze for the winter? Put it on the list. Early Christmas shopping and wrap the presents? List. Repaint the kids' bedrooms? List. Clean out the fridge? List. Tell him you're downright insulted that he requires a list to be a dad and parent at the same level as usual without you, and tell him that you would not require a list. Do not make that list. They're not babies. He will have to figure it out. As a dad, I find this post sad. My 30th sister, 28th, is getting married next month and I'm conflicted and confused on how to tell her that it's not the right move for her. I'm apologizing in advance for the book. I wanted you all to have as much info as possible in order to make informed decisions. TL Doctor at the bottom. Little bit of backstory. Our father died unexpectedly back in 2013. At the time, he was very protective of Sarah, younger sister, and because of that she was maturely stunted. He was the only respected parental figure in her life because, for reasons I won't go into now, our mom is not a great role model, parent, or human. After he died she fell apart, understandably, and regarding relationships, romantic or not, didn't matter, she would cling so fiercely to any that came along that she would change herself to be more like those people. Over time, the relationships failed, and she would come to our older sister, Maddie, and I for guidance. We told her the truth about her habits of changing herself for her real teenship and gave her the advice to be alone for a bit in order to establish who she wanted to be. Then she met Dimitri, her current fiancé. They met through a hookup app about 3 to 4 years ago and have stayed together the whole time. He is a Greek man who came to the US about 5 years ago and became a US citizen while they were dating. Like many traditional Greek men, Dimitri and his family follow the teachings of the Greek Christian Orthodox Church. For those who do not know, it is incredibly strict and the general census regarding women is that they are property and lose several rights as people while practicing this religion. Sarah, like my father, Maddie, and myself followed no specific religion. Maddie and I warned Sarah that this could be something to be careful treading as the relationship progressed. Over time, Sarah became more and more worried about her soul and heaven/hell, etc. One day we happened to be all together and Sarah confesses to Maddie and I that a while back she started having panic attacks when thinking about death and decided with Dimitri that she wanted to experiment with religion, and since Dimitri was willing to explain it to her and walk her through it, she chose his initially. Maddie and I were supportive but cautious. We understood that going from no religion to an incredibly strict religion would be hard, but we also understood everything that came with the culture. Lack of power as a woman, generally demeaned by men, etc. Since her transition, Sarah has become increasingly closed off and distanced with Maddie and I. Maddie lives about 3 hours away from Sarah and myself, while Sarah and I live only a 5-minute drive away from each other. Regardless of the drive, I hardly see her. She spends the bulk of her weekends about 1.5 hours away with Dimitri's family, and when she does spend time with me, Dimitri is either blowing up her phone asking when she'll be home, or, if he's with us, he is constantly texting his family and pulling Sarah away from our conversations. This behavior even occurs on holidays when they decide to join us. Maddie and I have warned Sarah several times of the controlling behavior from Dimitri that we see within their relationship, but she listens and then won't stand up for herself against him. This leads us to now. Sarah and Dimitri came to Maddie and myself about Mayish of this year and told us that they were getting married this November. Maddie and I were shocked because, you know, pandemic. Anyway, we voiced our concerns, but Sarah and Dimitri started spouting off about how they had been living in sin for years, sex before marriage, and if anything happens to them right now they'd die and be sent to hell forever, and neither wanted that, so they refused to wait. Currently, Sarah and Dimitri have 25 to 30 people attending the service. Maddie has 2 children, both under the age of 2. Understandably, she is deciding not to go and risk being around so many people in an enclosed space long enough for her to contract the virus so that she could spread it to her kids. I, on the other hand, do not have kids. Currently, it's just my husband and myself. However, I don't want to get COVID either. I have bills to pay, and if either him or I were out of work for 2 weeks to quarantine, we'd be in seriously tight spot financially. With all that said, my sister has decided to get baptized the day prior to the wedding, they said, because blessings get compounded, at a Greek monastery that I would need to either buy or make clothes to wear so that I could be allowed in to participate. I'm in school part-time and I work full-time. I don't have the time to make my own clothes in 5 weeks. Maddie and I agree that this relationship could get abusive if it isn't already. We want to be there for Sarah so that she knows that there will always be someone in her corner if something should happen and she wants out. But with Maddie needing to stay away for her kids, and with me not having a lot of time or money for something to wear and not wanting to risk getting sick, I just don't know if Sarah would ever forgive us if neither of us showed up to her wedding. And so Reddit, I turn to you for many outsider perspectives. Maddie, if you're reading this, feel free to chime in with answering comments. Your perspective would also be beneficial to have. TL Drive. I think my sister is rushing into marrying a man who is manipulating her with his religion, and I don't know how to stop it, if I should stop it, if I'm overreacting, or if the best course of action is to do nothing and let this run its course. Please help. I've been in your situation before with my own sister, and, honestly, it sucks. I'm gonna let you know straight up, There's nothing you can do to stop her. She is an adult and she is gonna do what she is gonna do. At this point, you've laid out your concerns and your sister has chosen to move forward regardless. All you can do at this point is be supportive. If the relationship is actually abusive, there may come a day when your little sister seeks help in getting out of it. If you want to be someone she can turn to, don't alienate her. Continually pressing her that this relationship is a bad idea will just push her away, and when she reaches that stage of needing help, she won't go to you. Make yourself someone she sees as a supporter. Attend the wedding if you feel it is necessary, as safely as possible, of course, and do what you can to let her know you support her as a person, even if you don't support her relationship. Sorry you're in this situation. It hurts seeing the signs from the outside but being powerless to stop it. As for my sister, it took a couple of years, but she did eventually see what was happening and she turned to me and the rest of my family who supported her for help, and we got her out safely. For your sister, if this is what she wants and if this makes her happy, do your best to be supportive of it without sacrificing yourself. It's about all you can do.